honest. Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy it.
I was going to say, can we not play the funky music if we're playing the jazz? But you absolutely can. It's even more of an own to play the funky music after a long.
That's true. That's actually true. Like
True.
We control our own destinies here on the DNBA show.
We certainly do. We most certainly do. Welcome in, everybody, to the DNBA Lounge. This is neither a winner's. I guess it's technically a loser's lounge.
Yeah, this is just a show.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Adam Mades, joined by my esteemed colleague, Brendan Vogt.
I didn't even know we were live, so I got to pick it out. I really got.
Are you playing Candy Crush? Is that what's going on?
Yeah,
okay.
Well, Top Golf, but
Top Golf. There you go. Then I'm joined, of course, by my less esteemed colleague, D. Lanco.
That's right. I'm happy to come up from the rear here. I don't care.
Say that again. I want to hear it. Let's just revisit what your first line on the show.
Hello.
Nice.
Not that one.
Good
Not that
save.
one. Guys, today we are presented by Draftkings Sportsbook, an incredible place where you can place live betting action on sports that are taking place. You get to go on the Ask game right now.
I think I might actually get in on this. What are we thinking?
Can we get a live Eric Betts?
Let's see what happens.
Hits on Draftkings.
Let's see what.
All right, you take
looking
your
at
time
here.
and get there, and then update us as you get there. Use promo code DNVR when you sign up. You guys can get in on all kinds of the great betting action. Today's episode of the show, we're going to open up by talking a little bit about this game that just happened. This somewhat pointless to me game. I think Michael Malone would disagree. He'd say it's extremely meaningful. In just a moment's time, Harrison Wynn's going to come in here and let us know what Michael Malone had to say after this game, and as well as everybody else who talked. I know that Paul Millsap did. But before we get there, let's just talk briefly about this game, guys, because I don't think there's a whole lot to take from it. But number one, the Nuggets didn't play their guys that much. They did play them for a quarter, and they didn't look necessarily crisp in that first quarter. I wouldn't say it wasn't. If you were, as I think Michael Malone was, looking for this game to sort of mean something encouraging, I don't know that you got it. What do you think, Vogt?
Yeah, I don't think you got. Was anyone looking for it except Michael Malone?
No, just
and
him.
That's what. And I don't even think the players were. So my concern level low. Malone's probably where it should be as the head coach. A little more concerned with the defense specifically.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing crisp about this game was maybe the cookie crisp that they ate moments before for breakfast.
Cookie crisp.
Overrated.
Overrated.
It's a terrible cereal.
It is a terrible cereal. The idea is better than the
I
execution.
cannot, but it really, the thing that it was like so jarring for me as I was trying to drink as much iced coffee as possible and get the sleep out of my eyes while watching this game was I was like, well, this is the time that the actual playoff game is going to start. I know. But it won't be on a Friday. It will be on a Monday.
Way worse. Yeah, somehow way worse. It is true, man. Like, I mean, our hours as writers are really weird. And you as just a weird person. It's really weird. But
it's just a misfit.
It's just a misfit. But like 11:30 is like 8:30 for me.
Oh my God.
I'm only up for like an hour and a half at this point, max.
I know.
You know.
I know. I'm surprised we didn't see you in a bathrobe or.
Should have. If I could have arrived in a bathrobe, I would have.
Is it a bigger bummer to get these rough time starts or get the NBA TV slate? Given that a lot of people don't have NBA TV or altitude right now.
I would take NBA TV
Me too.
at 7
we
o'clock.
have a bar, though.
I'm less concerned about everyone else in the world and much more concerned about myself.
I know, but like I showed
enough.
up to the bar and they were like, "Hey, you want a beer?" I'm like, "No." It's 11:30.
That's so funny. But no, getting back to this game. So, I don't know that I had high hopes for this, and I don't know that it was fair of Michael Malone to expect like you guys only get a quarter, go out there against a great team and show that you're ready for the playoffs. I personally, if you listen to yesterday's edition of the Notebook episode of the podcast where I did deep dive, I was really impressed with Denver's defense, and I put examples up on the list, and it was only a couple of these, but there was actually plenty of examples of what I thought was solid defense in the last game. This game, I just don't know that you could say, Jokic, you're playing 10 minutes. They better be great.
I know.
And it's not going to matter, and it doesn't matter. And so...
we're doing a show about this game, and I could like barely be bothered to watch it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That's a really good point.
Scott just said I'm going to end up losing my job over these start times. You got to prioritize, and the Nuggets do take priority.
Good new job.
I will say, actually, shouts to the people that showed up to the DNVR bar today in their like work clothes. That's great.
I love
So-
it, man.
Guys here,
Yeah, you might want to talk in the microphone there,
we've got
Harrison.
guys here just at the bar answering emails on their
I love it. I
Beautiful.
love it. This is the DNVR faithful right there.
Absolutely,
The
man.
the true diehards. That
Why work from home when you can work from our home?
when you're exactly people on their Zoom conference calls, like, yeah, I'm totally paying attention right now.
Could you maybe turn the abs down? I've got my boss here on my Zoom.
Harrison, we don't have any takeaways from this game.
Not a one.
Before you tell us about Michael Malone's takeaways, just tell us your personal takeaways.
I mean, I'm glad nobody got hurt.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good
That
one.
was the Nuggets' #1 goal coming into this game.
So thankful when Michael Porter wasn't suiting up. I was like, oh, thank
Yeah.
God.
Although I don't know, Torrey looked like he came up a little lame on that missed dunk.
Yeah, jeez.
Emphasis,
was a-
emphasis on lame.
That was a rough 3 minutes for the boy.
Yeah.
That was not a great look.
I've got some takeaways from this game based on the post-game comments, which I thought were pretty interesting.
Well, let's dive right in. Usually we wait a little bit, but why not? I want to
Yeah.
hear what happened on this one.
So, predictably, Michael Malone was pissed off.
Predictably.
Predictable.
Nuggets have the worst defense in the bubble.
Yeah, it's official now, isn't it?
They were not good defensively today. Gave up a ton of open threes. I think the Raptors shot over 50% from three today. So he was like, to us, I'm sorry you guys have to listen to me because I probably sound like a broken record. Every answer or every question you ask goes back to 3-point defense, turnovers, and just total defense. So Malone isn't a flip the switch guy. We know this. Like I asked him that point blank.
great
I think when the regular season was still going on, he does not believe in flipping the switch. So this was not the game that he wanted to see heading into the bubble.
Michael Malone flipped a switch back in like 1978, and it just has been on since. Like
You're right.
his switch is always he's
Right.
always in the red.
Right. So Malone.
I think he's that old.
Yeah.
I didn't really do good math.
1978. I don't know.
1978 is the year I was born.
Oh, yeah, he's not that old. Okay, go on.
Just as a point of reference.
Boom, roasted.
Roasted!
So Michael Malone says his piece. Then Paul Millsap comes in. And Paul Millsap gets asked questions like, okay, this is what Malone just said. Where are you at on the defense, and where's your concern level? And sure enough, Paul Millsap says something to the tune of, it hasn't been great these 3 games, but I feel like we're pretty locked in.
Man.
It's a great take.
And we know we're going to have to turn it up a notch. So it was a pretty interesting comparison there between those two.
So we've talked about this before. Jokic is the exact same way. Did he talk today?
No, it was Paul Millsap.
He didn't need to. He talked
and PJ Dozier.
He talked after the last game, the last
Yeah.
media availability, and he said the exact same thing. Are you concerned? I'm concerned, but not very concerned. Like, we have another gear. Basically saying we have another gear. Here's the thing I wonder. I mean, look, I don't think there's a disconnect between coaches and players. I really don't. As much as like them saying completely contradictory things indicates. I just think that there is management and there's labor. And there's management always saying work harder, and there's labor always saying we want more snacks in the snack room. And it's just sort of that tension. And
Wait,
there's
are
sort
we
of
allowed to ask for more snacks?
Yeah, I didn't know that was an option.
you guys wait, what? Oh, wow.
Should we
Okay.
unionize?
Adam, by the way,
I guess technically
Adam's on management.
I am
just so it's
definitely
true.
management here, so we'll work a little harder. We'll get you snacks, guys. But no, so
Just backed himself into a corner there.
I think there's a natural sort of, I would say, perhaps dialectic between the two perspectives. This is you know Hegel.
That was good.
So I think there's a natural sort of
Hegel.
push and pull that both things are simultaneously true, even though they're sort of opposite. Do you have? I mean, am I right here about Hegel's dialectic?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's talk about that for 20 minutes. I mean, I think you're right about your perspective here on what's happening. I mean, Malone is never going to turn that side of him off, as Harrison just alluded to. This was predictable as ever, but it does seem to me like the players, and when it comes from Paul Millsap, he's really the player that cares about defense the most.
And he's also the guy that probably has the longest view on
Right.
like going from regular season to playoffs as the
Avs
Avs
just
go
gotta-
up 3-2 in the third.
Just so everybody knows, I just won the bet I placed earlier. DraftKings, $40. I'm buying snacks. I'm getting Cookie Crisp for
That was-
Omar.
I want a winner
Rayvon
shot.
can get some honey bunches
Yeah,
out.
with 3-2 with 3 minutes left in the
to
third.
go.
I bet for the Avs to score next.
Dude, that
Plus
was
300 on
It's
DraftKings,
been really hard to
baby.
do the
Let's
show
go.
while that was going on in the background. But
What
thank
was I
God.
saying? Oh yeah,
I wasn't listening.
out of anybody, Paul Millsap has like the longest view
Yes.
of transitioning from the regular season to the playoffs.
And
So
so-
he's like the best one to speak on that.
And this team has given Malone what he's asked from them in terms of playing really hard to get that defense better over the course of full regular seasons. But I think they understand that at the end of the day, they're not built that way. They're not a tow truck.
Yeah.
And maybe it has to be a concentrated effort for a quarter where they dial in and lock in and play good defense. And so, like, you look at that Clippers game, the starters came out, they busted their asses in quarter one. And then I think they knew they weren't going to finish that game. And at a certain point, it gets hard for Malone to ask them to stay prepared like it's the playoffs when they know they're not even going to play the full 4 quarters.
I'm reminded of this great episode of Full House from back in the day.
Well,
You guys remember
you're gonna have to narrow that down. You want to talk about the show
I
that
think
can't
they were
miss.
yes, and I can't miss. This is hitting our audience where I think it was DJ learning to drive a car, and
Classic
Danny
episode.
very uptight,
Very
made it was a classic
episode.
one. Where Uncle Jesse a little too loose, and
too
of course
loose.
she crashed the car, the classic, right?
heavens.
So I
Heavens.
think this is a very forced metaphor is really highlights that I think Malone I think he sort of has to be that guy because the team is so relaxed that he has to be so this way. This is my take. If he wasn't doing this, the team might swing a little too hard into the
He's got to keep them.
Let's
in
just
balance
crash.
a little bit.
Let's study the defensive game plan on Monday morning before tip-off, and we'll be good.
Jordan's really impressed with you finally catching up on your pop references with
Is that
Full
right?
House.
Am I current?
With your Full House references.
But it's good to know that maybe, like, I don't know if this literally happened, but maybe Millsap's in the locker room. The players are talking to each other like, look, guys, we look good when it matters. Try not to sweat it. Try not to. Coach is going to coach.
I've always got more nervous watching sports than playing sports, and I think a lot of that is because you feel in control. This is why when my wife's driving in the mountains, I feel like we're gonna crash because you're driving downhill. There's the tight turns. So I'm just like, you might want to slow down here. But when you're driving, I could drive like 100 miles per hour, and I'm like, I just have full control. Like I can feel it because I'm the one driving. And I think this is sort of not a good metaphor. You want me to go back to Full House?
No,
I
you're
approve. Better than Full House.
your first successful pop culture reference, though, on this podcast.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of that going on. The players can sense what they did. And like I said, when I watched the tape of the Clippers game, I was like, man, that defense is on point.
I bet if you watch the first quarterback of this one too,
Maybe
it
there's
was
a little more.
a lot better than the finished product.
All right, we might have spent too much. Although, Harrison, I'm ashamed. You buried the lead. You talked to Paul Millsap, and you did not give us one of the great photos in Paul Millsap history. If we can go to this, check
Get
this
some
out.
live
Look at this
production
energy
magic.
here, man. I really teed that one up for the
Does
production
anyone remember
team.
when LeBron James was down 3 games to
Well,
1?
we're ahead of ourselves. Here we go. Oh, look at this. Look
That
at
is
Paul
amazing.
Millsap on the left here.
I like
That is
that.
amazing.
One of these guys looks a lot more comfortable than the other, though. In that,
I don't know. I think they both look equally comfortable.
I like the idea that you wake up in your little hotel room and then you get on a golf cart and put on a medallion.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You're like just a putter across Disney World.
Putter. Great use
That
of
is the
putter
look
there.
of a man who's been golfing every other day in the bubble, which he has been.
and performing some magic in between.
Ooh.
This is honestly the coolest Paul Millsap has ever looked. I said he looks like both characters from White Man Can't Jump. Do you have that poster? He somehow looks like both. Does he not? Was that not accurate? I did send the.
That is
let's see if
staggeringly
we.
accurate.
There it
That
is.
is
Let's see,
debilitatingly accurate.
oh man, we're really. Wow. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to come back to that.
We'll do it live. There it is.
There it is. He looks like both of them,
once.
right? A little
He
bit
really
of
does.
a combination. So we have to talk about the king of the game, guys, because DraftKings sponsors us, and they would like us to. And it's really weird to give a king of a game.
Am I allowed to be the king of the game for just winning my DraftKings
You might
bet
be the king
live
of the game.
here on
You
this?
might. It might
You
be
know what?
you.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Harrison, king of the game for you.
Can I be the treasurer of the game?
The treasurer of the game, secretary of the game. Paul Millsap's always secretary of the game.
Dozier, PJ Composure.
Yeah.
5 of 6 from 3.
Yeah.
PJ Dozier.
PJ Dozier with a 3-point shot is like a fringe all-star.
A 6'6" point guard with a 3-point shot is like a upper level rotation player.
Great wingspan
This
and
is
reach.
his second reign as king of the game in the bubble.
It's been a big
That's
bubble.
how you know it's the bubble.
It's been a big bubble for PJ Dozier.
It's been a big
It
bubble.
has been a big bubble.
I mean, I don't even know who else we would give it
It's
to.
got to be PJ. The shot is I mean, I do feel like PJ's the kind of guy where, like, we'll see him get into a rhythm for a couple of weeks, and then we'll see him go cold. And, like, really nothing changed in the process. You know what I mean?
You know who else is like this? Torrey Craig. I talked about this yesterday. Torrey Craig. Oh! Almost
Got
an
an
empty
empty
netter.
net situation.
Almost an empty netter. I think that PJ Dozier can take some of Torrey Craig's minutes. I think Torrey Craig has a huge role, especially in the series. We're going to talk about it coming up. But PJ Dozier provides a lot of that. And when I see games like this, I just think, man, on the offensive end, he's so much more dynamic.
He's just he's so much more versatile, and he makes the defense like way more nervous to guard. He's just such a bigger threat. Such a bigger threat than Torrey Craig.
Easy for you to say.
He
We're
can
not,
penetrate.
actually.
He can make stuff happen on the offense.
Yeah, he's a primary ball handler.
Yeah, in the Nuggets offense, Torrey Craig's pretty much just a corner shooter.
Yeah.
He's
pretty
more
much
of
his role.
He's more of a corner misser.
But, PJ can do stuff with the ball in his hands. He can run pick and roll. He can make things happen.
Yeah.
He creates a lot more problems for the defense on offense than Torrey Craig.
Torrey has had such a rough bubble.
Yes.
He has had a rough bubble.
Because I feel like every
it's going to get better in the playoffs.
Every 10th game that Torrey Craig plays in over the course of a regular season, he usually has like one standout game,
Yeah.
Definitely has not had a standout game in the bubble.
Well, there's two other players I want to talk about before we move on to the preview portion of the show, which is going to be the majority of it. But Jamal Murray, to me, he only plays in 10 minutes, basically the first 10 minutes of the game. That's not it. Not basically, literally. Goes 4 or 5 from the field, has 11 points. Jamal Murray, I don't want to say he looks the best he's ever looked, but he's looked the best every game. Like, we've seen him look better than this.
I'm so ready.
One game and then not the next.
So ready.
I feel like he has not really had bad quarters. It's been all good stuff. So, wow, look at that. Look at our graphic with the Clippers logo on it. Wow.
I used to feel like when Jamal Murray had a less than stellar game, he was often weighing the team down, not just not helping them win.
He's true.
I think that baseline's higher this season, maybe again in the bubble than those 65 games. He looks like a guy who, my shot's not there tonight. I'm going to bust my ass on defense.
Yeah,
the playmaking's been great. I'll find different ways to affect the defense. I'll penetrate more. So he's just looked shifty, strong, and like really ready to step up for the moment.
Yeah, and it's also like when, absence makes the heart grow fonder. When he was out for those few games, and we're in the relativity of time that is the bubble, where we've had 8 games, but it feels like we've been in the bubble for 4 years.
Yeah,
and then we just saw what it looked like without Jamal Murray on the court, and then for him to come in and you're just like, you just take a sigh of relief because you're like, okay, there's another guy who can make a shot. There's another option here. It's not just Nikola Jokic having to try and take the game over, maybe we get a shot made from Torrey Craig. It's just nice to have competent players on defense, or on offense, rather.
He's shooting a lot of threes, too.
And he's shooting them well.
Yeah, 5 in 25 minutes a game, so that's more. He shoots about 5.5 in 33 minutes, so it is a little bit up.
And I really think his confidence is
his
clearly
confidence is so high.
Risen, when he's gotten jacked, dude. He's swole. And
I know, it is true. Put a little muscle on. He's like at the beach strutting.
He's strutting, baby. I love it.
I also think there's this new dynamic now. People like us are all talking about Michael Porter Jr., the Nuggets' new star, second best player. And some people have asked the question, how does Jamal respond to that? I think Jamal sees opportunity to get better, to win as a basketball team, to further his own legacy. And so when he looks at that, he's not going to see a threat. He's going to see an opportunity and get after it.
Jamal Murray looks great. I have to. Oh, here it is. A little empty netter. Oh, I can't believe it.
And an icing call.
Yeah, I don't want to. I have the ender on this. So
I think you're safe. 9 seconds left here.
Incredible.
I
think
think
a bet going on every game.
Guys, not only am I become
Every
now I'm not only a basketball analyst now in my life. Somehow I'm also a degenerate gambler.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, get the hell for real. No, but I think Jamal Murray, guys, I'm as confident as I could possibly be about him specifically going into the bubble, and I think for me that's really exciting because Michael Porter's awesome. Jamal Murray's second most important player going into this. The last guy we need to talk about today, guys, Bol Bol gets 20 minutes tonight. No, he gets 15 and a half minutes tonight. He goes for 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. The passing, again, he had another like absolute dime. You can hear behind us. That's the noise of the Avs winning.
When they're up 2-0.
That's everybody downstairs hearing that I won my bet.
There they are. Unbelievable. Hey, the DNVR Sports Bar. Seriously, you come. We're talking Nuggets upstairs. They're watching the Avs downstairs. It just
They're
never
socially
stops.
Socially distanced. I'm telling you, there's like groups of 2 at tables, people that know each other, and they're 10 feet apart. And then you can't literally can't go closer to that. Everything's set up. But so Bol Bol tonight. Takeaways.
So in transition, you tweeted this out. In transition,
Jack's a 3.
Jack's a 3. We've also seen the passes now. It's just another guy that's like willing to sprint the floor in transition, get the Nuggets going, and also, I mean, if he's just going to pull up from 3, what do you do?
I love it.
And then the post up jumper or the little fadeaway might be the most unblockable shot in basketball.
Yeah.
Those are my takeaways.
For sure.
He had a tough night on defense for sure today. Just a tough game overall for him. But that happens. And I asked Paul Millsap about just what he thought of Bol over these 8 games because Bol hadn't practiced with this team, pre-hiatus. And I thought Millsap was a good veteran voice to give his assessment. He said that Bol has shown, quote, that he can be a superstar.
Yeah.
You were expecting a very tempered Millsap
Coming from
take
Paul
there.
Millsap,
Yeah.
that's significant, I think.
I agree.
Paul Millsap's such a G, man. I mean,
So much wisdom.
I'm so curious
So
what
much basketball.
I'm just so curious what happens to him this offseason because in my mind, Jeremy Grant replaces him, minutes, everything, and then I'm just like, is he even a backup? Is he Mike Miller? Does he like slowly become the Mike Miller role where it's like, yeah, we'll give you a couple mil to sit on the bench and just kind of play golf while everybody else plays basketball?
And every opportunity he's gotten to answer
better than that, though.
questions like those, I mean, he's shown Millsap likes it here. Millsap loves these young teammates, and this is a guy who has spent his whole career trying to get to that promised land. And he's in with a young, talented group now that he's told us explicitly he thinks can get him there. So, free agency gets complicated. Someone can always overpay, but you get the sense that this is a dude. Phoenix, yeah. That this is a guy who's right where he wants to be right now, and he has the back of the young guys in Denver. He's not just passing through.
It really seems like this team has good vibes on it, unless you talk to Michael Malone, obviously.
That's a great point.
This is such a painful point. I guess we have to end it there. Let me take our first break. On the other side, though, we're going to start our preview. We're going to look ahead. We're done. We're done with the regular season. We're done with the bubble
Holy
season.
snipe. Can we take a moment? We just got through the regular season.
Wow, thank God.
We talked about this before. This regular season has been the longest stretch of my adult life.
Yeah, it's true.
And we are officially done with the regular season. Wow.
No more seeding
Let's
games,
take a moment here.
hopefully ever.
Yeah. All
R.I.P.
right, take us away. What are we talking about?
Well, we talk sports. We talk Denver sports at this bar, and we also talk about Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR.
That's a great point.
I would tell you about that Mile High Copper Lager.
The 15-pack, don't bother.
You can't. If you're in state,
You can talk about it as a memory.
if you're out of state, go ahead and punch it into that Breck beer locator. You might find some luck. If you're in state, you're out of luck.
Forget it.
You got to find a new beer. How about the Avalanche Ale? The Avalanche are on a roll right now in the postseason.
Topical.
The classic American Amber Ale blends pale chocolate and caramel malts to create a well-rounded, flavorful beer.
Caramel malts are my favorite. Caramel, is that an East Coast pronunciation?
Yo, I this is a word that I don't even know how I myself pronounce this word.
Yeah, it's true. I say caramel
flip-flop
sometimes. I do
every
too.
single
I
time.
flip-flop too. Yep.
Last night, I'm like, man, I really am living out my dream. I have the dream job. Here I am, like,
Just getting roasted.
You're
online.
upset because I made fun of your
caramel.
pronunciation?
I just remembered I hate this.
It's well, if you could have a caramel as a reward for a tournament.
If you
Caramel
would
treat,
like to
baby.
try Breck Brew, but you haven't yet, the Avalanche Ale is their classic beer. It's the one people have been drinking for years, so
It's the one
check
you
it
can
out.
literally
I'm
see
telling you
Bruto
guys,
drinking
me
at all
personally,
points in
I
time.
feel like
Yep.
we're about 3 weeks too early. September 1st, Avalanche Ale is in. It's me personally. Some people, they're feeling a little fall.
This beer is purely thematic at this point.
It is thematic. Yeah, you're right.
We also have to talk about WT Golf.
kinda want an Avalanche Ale
WGT
now.
Golf.
Wow.
WGT?
Sounds
WT?
good.
Is that what you said?
WGT Golf.
Thank you.
WGT World Golf Tour.
The number one rated mobile sports golf app in the world.
Was
So
there a tournament this weekend?
what is the tournament this week?
Let's decide of it right now.
The asterisk. I thought it was like the asterisk.
We're going to call it the Asterisk Open, and it's going to be...
Everybody says asterisk. We're,
That's
differently,
true. That's
too.
definitely
Everyone
true.
says it different
Nobody-
and wrong.
It's not really a
We
word.
did not think that through with Quest for the Asterisk.
Oh, we thought
really-
we thought
No,
it
we
through.
definitely thought it through.
We thought it through, but we our hands were tied. No, so go ahead and play in the Asterisk Open that was founded just right here and now.
Yeah, we'll get that together, and you can find it. We have 3 clubhouses. If you've already signed up, you're in either DNVR or DNVR 2. You got to check out DNVR 3 now if you're a
Get it
new
on
member.
3, baby.
So much overflow, just brimming with all these spectacular, talented virtual golfers. So if you're in any of those clubhouses, you can enter our tournaments, and they're every weekend.
Fantastic way to get through that read very quickly. So thanks to everybody that's watching in, especially if you're watching on YouTube, our preferred platform for you to check us out. If you're
Oh.
watching, go ahead and throw a like down there, throw a comment. While you're at it, throw a subscription. Why don't you subscribe
Why not?
to the channel? You
Throw
won't
me
miss
some money.
anything, including I do the list for DNVR members, but I always throw one free one up on
Little
YouTube.
taste.
Just to kind of, just a little like, hey, here you guys go.
sample.
I have a question for you, all of you. Is this a winner's lounge if the Avs just won and we're sitting here?
I
Yes,
think
it
it
is.
is.
We don't
It's
care
a
at
great
all
point.
about that
We
Nuggets
made
game?
it through the seeding round. This is a winner's lounge.
Yeah, this is
love
a
it.
winner's lounge. Let's turn our attention here, guys. The Utah Jazz. I found it interesting. I've been talking to a lot of people, both Utah people, Denver people. Denver wanted Utah. Utah wanted Denver.
Yep.
I think that makes for. Let's forget the analysis part. I think that makes for an intriguing one. I like when two teams. It's so rare that two teams want each other. You
Yeah.
know, it's usually like, oh shit, we got this team and I didn't want it. I think that makes for some intrigue because somebody's going to have their heart broken, and God, I hope it's not us.
Yeah, and these are two teams that are their paths, their histories, and recent memory certainly intertwined. Two fan bases that would love to look the other in the eye and say definitively we know our team's better.
Man, I saw a Reddit comment one time that was like, I always forget that the Jazz and Nuggets aren't the same team.
Well, don't you feel
like some
the Jazz
East Coast
and Nuggets-
a-holes, you know, or something.
Don't you feel like they just know each other inside and out by
Yeah,
now?
absolutely.
They play each other 4 times a year. They're in the same division.
So,
they both had kind of the same team for these last couple of
I'm
years.
going to have to sort of disagree with you. What's that? Did you catch that reference?
Yeah, it's from Office Space. Go
Hey,
ahead.
One person got it. And that
Office
is
Space,
and that is
overrated.
this. So no Bojan Bogdanovic.
'Cause you've never worked
Which
in
completely
Office.
changed how they are. They're taking more threes. I got this one from David Locke, fantastic guy who covers the Utah Jazz, and also my boss. So I had to say that.
Yeah, I was
Put a
going
little
to
plug
say,
in.
yeah.
He was talking about how the Utah Jazz have gone from taking, I think, 38 or 35 threes a game to now 42 threes a game. Meaning they've really changed. That's a huge jump. I mean, taking 7 as a team, more 3-pointers per game,
Spursian jump.
a Spursian jump, and that's during the season. So
We witnessed that in the game that we played against them, where they were just jacking them up.
and then the other piece of this is Michael Porter Jr. makes this team different. Not having Will Barton and Gary Harris makes this team different. I feel like the Denver Nuggets of the bubble are different from the Denver Nuggets outside the bubble in meaningful ways. So do the teams know each other inside and out? In some ways, the key
Yeah,
pieces.
some ways.
But in some ways, I think there's a lot of room for this to be different than what we've seen.
And that's probably more. I mean, it's scary for both Utah and Denver. But I mean, Utah without Bogdanovic was so containable. They were just like so vanilla. But you add the fact that they're shooting more threes, they've opened it up.
Yeah.
That makes them a lot more dynamic, than if they were just the team they were in the regular season without Bogdanovic.
Have we officially slipped into the Jazz top concerns segment?
Not yet. We
Okay.
haven't. Not yet.
I just wanna make
We're kind of
sure.
doing a broad overview. I know you're very excited for that.
Well, I just want to make sure that I didn't make a graphic.
You know what? We
in
can.
vain.
We can go ahead and already move on there. Why don't we start to frame this conversation by our biggest concerns with the Utah Jazz? If there were a graphic like, oh my God, look at this thing. Yes,
Jesus.
it's Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert,
Cursed
Kenny
image.
G. There's a lot to be concerned about with the Jazz here.
Do you work for Clutch Points?
So true.
I could.
Moonlighting as
You
Clutch
could.
Points
Oh,
graphic
God.
designer all this
I should
time.
have thrown some bubbles in
Just
there.
some bubbles coming
I
out.
should have put some bubbles in there.
No, but seriously, what? I'll start with you, Bo. What would you say is your number one concern about this series?
From the Denver perspective,
Yes.
Quinn Snyder
Man, I love it.
coaching,
Yeah.
and a guy who knows how to throw together a pretty effective defensive game plan. And to Harrison's point, a guy that's seen plenty of Jokic. So that would be my main. I think if you look just sort of matchup and talent, it's Denver all the way. But I actually think that's the biggest wrench in this equation.
I'll go like for a player. My biggest concern on the Jazz is probably Donovan Mitchell. How do the Nuggets guard Donovan Mitchell? Can they guard him? If that seeding game was any indication, they might have some trouble guarding him. That's where you really miss Gary Harris probably. Like, who's the primary matchup on Donovan Mitchell going to be? Torrey Craig?
Yeah, I think so. And you actually, if you remember this, when they played the first time, Donovan Mitchell had 4 points. And then
That is
Torrey
true.
Craig was on him. And if you remember, that's one of Torrey Craig's great defensive performances.
Yeah.
I think, and don't hold me to this, but I think in all 3 games this year, besides this last one where Donovan Mitchell went nuclear down the stretch, but the first 2 especially, and even in the first half of this last one, Donovan Mitchell struggled. And I don't know if that's just, it could be a little bit of randomness, it could be Torrey Craig, it could be a little bit of both. But if you look at the players Torrey Craig has been really good against, it's a lot of your head down Russell Westbrook types, right? Your guys that just attack and they're so relentless, and that's Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Torrey Craig can match you heart for heart,
Yeah.
Right.
intensity for intensity, and he's long.
Well, then maybe I'll have to go back and see what happened in the seeding game then. And if
Yeah.
that was just an outlier. But
Well, Mitchell
if
was
you-
also 12 for 33 in that game. He did
Yeah.
get
Oh,
hot
right,
at
yeah,
the end.
35
but
points
first
on
half he
30
struggled.
something.
I mean, if you shut down Mitchell, though, if you can limit Mitchell and make everybody else do the work, I feel like
I don't know who
Or
scores.
can I
Mitchell
even-
really has to. Mitchell is either going to be the MVP of the series,
Yeah.
or
In the Slack, I was like, we're going to get an absolute hero game out of Donovan Mitchell, and then we're also going to get a game where he's like 10 for 44, and Vogt was like, that'll probably be the same game.
That's the other thing I would take what Harrison said further. Without Bogdanovich, I mean, if Mitchell scores 35 points, that's fine. Where did the other 70 points come from? I mean, I do think he's the
Jordan
guy.
Clarkson might be good for 41.
There's no
Right.
chance. I mean, maybe.
Yeah,
He had
but like
37
if Jordan
the other
Clarkson
day.
plays well for 3 quarters, that's bad for his team in the fourth quarter. But
Probably, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just not enough scores. I think even if Mitchell has the series of his life, you could make a case that Utah doesn't score with them.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we've seen them pivot to more threes.
Right.
That's one way to
Right.
make up the difference, you know?
Just chuck it and
Yeah,
pray.
I feel like they have lost their identity as a team, and they're sort of just now wholly reliant on their physical talents. You know, like they just have a big, tall guy. Like Rudy Gobert will just run the lane, and they'll get it to him, and he'll get some lay-ins.
That's very effective, though. I mean,
For sure,
We
but-
always dismiss that because it's not like a turnaround jumper or something. It doesn't take that much skill. It's a talent. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
but it's not.
12
But it's
points-
actually really
12 points
important.
a
It's a
game.
really good thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it doesn't lend to any sort of higher strategy. It's sort of like they're going to rely on Donovan Mitchell chucking it up, being able to make shots at times. They're going to rely on Rudy Gobert being tall. They're going to rely on Joe Ingles to try and hit it.
they're gonna shoot a lot of
I mean,
threes.
but I was really. I mean,
I don't want to hate Joe Ingles. I might by the end of this series.
I hate it. I'll
know.
do it for
He's
you.
our favorite Jazz player. Right?
But the thing
At
is,
the
is
moment,
like, yeah. But the thing is,
telling
like, the Jazz is a squad that I was nervous about this season until now, and now I'm not scared of them at all.
So you don't have a concern.
I really honestly don't. I mean, I don't know if I'm being foolish.
Well, let me give
or-
you a few.
Oh, boy.
Because I do have a couple. I do think that Quinn Snyder is a very smart coach, and I know that the playoffs are often not about, you know, how do you match up your best things. It's about where are the weaknesses and how much can you pick at the one weakness. And the Nuggets, sadly, they do have some weaknesses. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. They have a really hard time keeping people out of the paint.
Yep.
The Jazz have 3 very good pick and roll players, and Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, and Jingle and Joe.
Mike Conley, 18 points a game in the bubble. He's looked better.
He's looking better. So they have guys that can run that pick and roll, and it's not going to be just, okay, Torrey Craig shut down Donovan Mitchell. It's going to be Jamal Murray. You got to shut down Mike Conley, Michael Porter Jr. You've got to like navigate pick and roll, and that leads me to number 2, which is Michael Porter Jr. It's not his offense, which I think will be very good. He might be up and down. He might be nervous. You know, there might be
Sure.
games where we're like, man, you need to make these.
We should prepare for
like
that.
there were against the Clipper ones. We should prepare for it. I'm worried about the defense because I think that what the Jazz are
The
going to
perimeter
do, well, he's going to have to guard the pick and roll. And he's going to have, if you know that one of his big weaknesses, I'm sure Quinn Snyder knows, is that he doesn't navigate screens very well. If I'm Utah, I'm designing an offense that forces him to go through multiple screens and then guard the pick and roll. And I just think if you do that over and over and over again, I don't know that Michael Porter is going to make a defensive leap during this series. So now you can stack the deck in a way that either you get Michael Porter to not play, or you just kind of like really go at him and so that he's a net negative or a net neutral. And to me, that would be my concern. Michael Porter's going to have to grow up in this series, but maybe not in ways that he personally realizes just yet.
But don't you feel like that somebody as physically gifted as Michael Porter Jr. is, and what you're talking about is probably more mental mistakes than anything, like seeing something over and over and over will allow him to sort of make the adjustment.
Ideally.
Right? I
Ideally.
mean, to me, that seems like you know, like with Michael Porter Jr., we just see him making mistakes, and then you seeing the same thing, and then he's gotten over them, and like we've seen him improve in so many facets, right?
Basketball's so complex, especially with smart teams, and that's what I'm saying. When you have 3 guys that all can play the point guard role and run and play that at a high level, that's really tough. You can't hide. It can't be like, okay, we're going to put him on this guy that doesn't do anything and stands in the corner.
And I also think the Jazz and Quinn Snyder, it's kind of a little similar to like a Spurs type thing where everybody always knows what they're doing. A lot of the system is pretty complex, but they're super well coached.
Yeah.
So I don't think, you know, many guys are making mistakes
Right.
on the offensive end for Utah. Like they know what they're doing. They're going to run their stuff. It's complicated. I think the Jazz are always near the top of the league in just like passes per game. Like they always bring their bigs up to the top and get them, you know, involved in the offense early on the shot clock. Like there's just a lot of movement
Yeah.
They set a
with
lot
the
of
Utah
screens.
offense. So you've always got to like have your head on a swivel with Utah.
Yeah.
If there was another concern I would put here, and I wouldn't say this is a concern, I would say this is a pivot point. Jokic versus Gobert is going to be a huge thing that determines this game. I think if Donovan Mitchell has a great series and Jokic has a great series, the Nuggets win. Meaning Jokic's best is going to be more impactful than Donovan's best, especially since Gobert is so counted on for them defensively that if Jokic is murdering him, their whole defense is going to have to bend in ways they're not prepared for.
I just got the jolt Considering
I know. I'm excited for
thinking
that.
about playoff Jokic.
And before we start talking about that, so I love Eric because he's just so confident. I am too in Jokic, although I think I'm a natural pessimist when it comes to sports. That's one thing that we've all sort of collectively chalked up, but it has to happen. We have to see it. We need to have the 7. We need to have that Jokic, the 30, 21, and 10 Jokic. And if you get that version, none of this other stuff we're talking about matters.
Strong agree, and I would also follow up by saying we're absolutely going to get that version.
Do you feel the same way, Harrison? Because I'm not quite there. I'm like, if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on it, and I feel pretty good about it. But I'm not like.
Hold on, run slow.
Oh my goodness! Oh
Yeah,
my
let's
God.
find me a line, Eric.
We know somebody who is a betting man. Just like where Jokic is right now.
No, I'm just saying, if you were to say this matchup, Rudy, just the one-on-one head-to-head matchup, Gobert's going to guard Jokic. Is Jokic going to win that matchup? Not just win it, but handily dominate that matchup?
I don't think necessarily. I think there will be times when Gobert gets the better of him, if it's for a stretch or even a game. I could see Gobert getting the better of him for a game. I don't think Jokic is going to flat out dominate this matchup every single second of every single game. Rudy Gobert will have his moments for sure. He'll block Jokic. He'll have a big impact. I think he'll have his moments, but Jokic will outplay him in the end.
And I also think are those games.
So you agree with that? First of all, you agree with that?
Okay, so in the last time they played, that was the case for the first half, right? Gobert had his way.
Yeah.
And then the second half, not so much.
And then the truth came home.
I mean, look, there might be moments, quarters, halves, but I actually think that will have more to do with what Jokic feels like he's trying to do in the moment, which will be related to how are Jamal and MPJ playing. I think there are going to be some. If those guys are hot, he's not going to shoot a lot. He might not feel it, but whenever there's a sense of urgency, whenever the Nuggets really, really need Jokic to turn it on, I have 10 out of 10 confidence he wins that matchup.
I want to hear in the comment section just how you predict this will go and how confident you are, because here's how I would break it down. I would say there is a 30% chance that Jokic dominates this matchup 30, 20, 10. We're not talking about this as a matchup. It's like, my God, throw the towel in for poor Gobert. I think there's a 30% chance of that. I think there's a probably 30 or 40% chance that Jokic outplays him, but it's, like you're talking about. There's quarters, there's maybe even a game where it's back and forth, and, it's a worthy opponent, but Jokic wins it. And then I think there's a small chance. What am I at, 30%? I think it's smaller than that. So I did bad math here. But there's maybe like a 15% chance in my mind that he actually loses that matchup. And Gobert, and not just Gobert, but the Jazz as a whole come up with something, and it just flusters him, and he maybe has a bad one. I don't think the odds are very good, but to me, it's at least a possibility. Are those odds in line with what you're seeing? Or you feel like it's that last one?
I mean,
really
look, if the
an
guys
option?
around him aren't hitting open threes, Utah's going to be able to limit Jokic.
Yeah.
But, no, man, I don't it's the fourth quarter. Oh, it's a close game. Throw it to Jokic every time. Every time.
Yeah, I mean, according to DraftKings here, this is the closest series as far as the odds are concerned, but the Nuggets are pretty heavily favored.
Almost 2-1, right?
Yeah.
They're minus 185?
Minus 195.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Eric, because that's my DraftKings pick of the week.
Wow, let's go to a break. I love it. And on the other side of this break, now we're going to get optimistic. We're going to talk about Jazz concerns for the Jazz.
Brutal.
Hey, we have to talk about. We got to talk about it.
These are our top concerns. Top Jazz
concerns. All right, Harrison, what do you got?
Pick of the week. Nuggets are minus 195 favorites to win the series. I'm not revealing my exact pick quite yet. I'm not revealing
the game
in how many games I think the Nuggets are going to win this series, but I am picking them to win the series.
Yeah.
And they are heavy favorites on DraftKings, but that's my DraftKings pick of the week. Nuggets over Jazz in the first round.
Vegas is pretty smart, man. I mean, Vegas doesn't, they're not that wrong too often. And so I do feel like that's a great sign for Denver that they feel this level of confidence. Also,
but maybe they said it there so people are like, oh, Utah, nice value.
Yeah, you want that nice value.
Man, I'm smashing the Thunder in that Houston series if I'm looking for a value pick.
Really?
I could, just because Houston's so high variability. I mean,
For
I
sure.
could see them absolutely going on a Western Conference Finals run. I could also see them hitting no threes and getting ousted in round
Man,
one.
Houston losing would be just too much fun. I mean, you talk about Houston, like Tillman Fertitta just hemorrhaging money, everything going.
Yeah, dude, I want
him
to see that
thinking he's
happen.
already too smart for Mike D'Antoni and
Also,
Daryl Morey.
Tillman Fertitta just signed up for DraftKings.
Also, Houston. Do we know what's
Trying
up
to get
with?
some money back.
Do we know what's up with Westbrook? Is he going to be playing?
No, he's not. He's going to miss at least the first game. I think they're saying most likely a couple.
We should talk about this. Someone was telling me there's a chance did Mike Conley's wife just have a kid or something?
I haven't.
True?
Yeah, this didn't come up.
I wasn't able to
think so.
corroborate.
I don't
that,
think so.
I'll
I
leave
can't
it be
corroborate
then.
that either. But are we still on our read?
Oh,
Yeah, we're still talking about DraftKings here.
I'm guessing we have like music playing in the background. We don't even know.
Yeah.
We got a UFC 252 this weekend, and DraftKings has this.
Do you ever talk into the mic,
promo.
Harrison, or do you just?
Well,
do you just like,
guys set up this mic, so I have to be looking at you guys.
Unbelievable.
Well, then why
while
don't you grab your
doing the
laptop and
reads.
drag it over? My goodness, Harrison. It's like, yeah.
I'm on Harrison's.
I'm like scared to touch these
Poor
mics
Harrison.
sometimes.
Shows up.
You afraid like it's
Gets
going to zap
berated.
you?
Yeah, DraftKings 252 or UFC 252 this week, and DraftKings has this ridiculous promo for new users. You can bet $1 to win $252 when placing a bet on the big fight. So hit that up on DraftKings and use code DNVR when you sign up. Make sure to use that code. And like I said, for a limited time, all new users can bet $1 to win $252 on this weekend's main event. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook is going all out for new users by offering them a chance to win $252 when placing a bet of $1 on this weekend's big fight by using code DNVR. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Other terms and conditions and restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And we've also got Manscaped, guys. No better time
Your balls
to,
will thank you.
to get on the perfect package 3.0.
your balls will.
Your balls with
thank
that.
you.
I was waiting for the man to stop.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
there's-
you
there's-
interrupt.
there's
You
like a
interrupt. You interrupt. That's
Well,
what you do.
I would say you interrupt.
I
Yeah,
do
I think we all know.
I saw Kale wearing
That's
the shirt
definitive.
today, but with the perfect package 3.0, you get that your balls will thank you shirt.
Which is super fun to accidentally wear somewhere important
Super
and then
versatile
realize.
shirt.
Oh wow.
Not
Yeah,
that that's happened to me, but
yeah.
You also get the travel bag, and you can get 20% off Manscaped plus free shipping with the code DNVR20 at manscaped.com. 20% off your entire purchase with free shipping at manscaped.com with the code DNVR20.
I just checked out the YouTube chat there. It's popping. It's popping. And then I see a lot of people, if you haven't already, hit the like button. It helps other people identify the show here, especially Utah Jazz fans, which I really want. I want the Utah Jazz fans to find this one. Rudy Golbert.
Come at us.
I don't.
Come at us.
Screen
I'm about
assists
to
are
get
more important
spicy.
than real assists. All right. The Nuggets. What should the Jazz be concerned about the Nuggets in this series, Eric? I'll let you go first. You can come in hot.
I think that the Jazz should worry about Nikola Jokic.
Well, we
Nikola
went
Jokic
over this guy,
is
yeah.
going to turn into the unbelievable playoff superhero version of himself we've been waiting for all year. We go through the low times so that we can experience the highs. He's about to pay
so
us
true.
off for
Philosophical Eric.
early
chiming in.
on when we had to sit and we had to do body analysis, body language
the male
analysis.
form came up a lot early
Yeah,
on
we're
the season.
we had to talk about how he had gained weight and was he motivated? Was he going to blah, 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 blah. It's time for 60-minute in your eye Jokic. We're
We
going to
need
get
a
triple
hot button
doubles.
for the male form graphic, just
Come
like a
here.
quick
Yeah.
boom.
They should be scared of the ascension of Jamal Murray. They should be scared of the arrival of MPJ.
Let the man cook.
Yeah,
Everybody's
the big
ascending and
clear out.
arriving.
Here we go.
It's all.
This is ISO.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, listen, the Jazz are about to feel the full force of this fully operational battle station. We're going to get
it. You
Jamal Murray, MPJ, and Nikola Jokic gunning at you suckers. And you Salt Lake fools can go watch the Rockies and pretend like they're your team.
I feel like
They're not
this
your
is a
team.
WW.
Eric's been building up this take for
WWC
years.
promo
Finally,
right
they
now.
get
Get a
Utah
bunch
in
of
a
Utah
playoff
based
series.
Listen here,
members
brother.
that just
I'm just so ready for this. Like I want this conversation to be over. I want the narrative about Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and the Nuggets missing out on these two precious little players that are going to get ousted in the first round,
Wow.
never to come up again. That's what they need to be worried about.
Wow.
I thought I was gonna get hot, but
Yeah, well,
Wow.
it's not, I'm guessing you're not quite that coming in that hot, Harrison.
Well,
the pragmatic
my-
take. Let's
my
go
take-
from that to the
So
pragmatic
my
take.
take is a little in line with that.
I love how Harrison says this in the most normal straight line way. I feel like the Utah Jazz are in for a hurting.
So I think the
Chances
Nuggets
are.
are what, like fifth in the bubble in offense, fifth in the bubble or so.
Something like
Terrible
that.
in defense, but fifth in the bubble. in
It's
offense.
been well covered.
with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and Nikola Jokic, I think the Nuggets have the potential to be one of the best offenses in the playoffs.
Yeah.
With those three guys going and playing up to their peak, playing up to their full potential, the Nuggets are going to be a very tough team to stop. yes, the Jazz have some interesting defensive personnel. They have Rudy Golbert. They have Royce O'Neal, who's like their version of Torrey Craig. They have Mike Conley, who I think is fading quickly. But I don't think the Jazz are going to be able to stop Denver if those three are in rhythm.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things the Nuggets have going for them. Yes, Michael Malone's going to be focused on defense. And look, I think the Nuggets defense definitely has to be better in the playoffs than where it's been in the bubble. But I think the Nuggets' offensive firepower is going to do a number on Utah in this series.
Yeah, I'd be worried that the Nuggets have 3 of the top 5 players in the series. I'd be worried that one of those guys is the definitive number 1, with one of their ceiling being number 2. I'd be worried that my number 2 scorer is out. I think they're going to have to rely on the 3. Eric, you were big in law of averages in that seeding game. It's kind of a neat little microcosm because they shot the ball as well as they possibly could have.
I keep coming back to this. I keep coming back to it.
And they played long enough, and those shots just didn't fall. And, like, I know math doesn't really work this way, but it's across 7 games. I mean, I just don't think they're going to be able to keep
I go
it
another
up.
direction with that. It wasn't that the law of averages kicked in. It's that they shot 40% on 55 attempts, which at 55 attempts, that's Houston Rockets numbers. They shot a lot and made a lot and lost.
And
so I think
they should be winning that game.
By
I mean,
a
how
lot.
many games in the series do you think they will shoot better than 40% from the three-point line? I can't imagine.
They'll have like one.
They might have one, yeah, especially if they're getting that volume. So to me, that's really, really encouraging. They'd have to really figure something out about Denver's like the weakness that we're not seeing that for them to get there. In my opinion,
ready. I am so ready.
So ready for it. For me, I think the Jazz actually do have a lot. I mean, if Jokic goes off, to me, none of this other stuff really matters.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
that's the starting point. If you're having a bend, they count so heavily on Rudy Gobert being able to dominate the paint and dominate his matchup inside. And if he can't do that, then it's the house of straws. I mean, house of cards.
House of cards.
It's the straw that broke the house of cards. So, so I think that's obviously one area for concern. I think Jamal Murray playing the way that he has in these. I mean, it sucks that Jamal Murray has only played in 4 games and really.
That was not a salute. That was
Yeah, I was going to say,
Oh,
let's get
that
that
was
elbow
essential.
out.
Honestly, like gestures have been ruined. Like
Saw your
earlier,
face.
I did like
no one screenshot.
earlier I did like an A-OK, like this is great, and I'm like, oh wait, but that can also mean like a terrible.
It's a rough
Like,
Don't go live.
Don't do any symbols or any gestures.
I'm pure of heart and spirit.
Yeah.
I'm like a babe in the woods here.
Update from Guy who did some fact checking. Conley has said he will leave the bubble for the birth of his child. We just don't know when his wife is due. So it could be tomorrow.
She's not even pregnant, but he would. He just wanted the world to know
just
that
hypothetically.
if he were to have a child.
They were
Eric,
just
would you
having a
leave the
fight.
bubble
He
if you
was-
were having a child?
What did you ask me? I
Yeah.
thought you said Harrison. Well, no.
Eric just wouldn't have a child.
I mean, like everybody was a child. Like Brendan was a child. Are they really that
At the
special?
start of this regular season.
Are they really that special?
Kids overrated.
Also,
That would like totally turn a series. Like, I mean, if Conley's gone,
Yeah,
I mean,
oh.
my God, I mean, come on.
Conley
now.
was the
I mean,
story
you know
of the
who gets
offseason.
elevated into the rotation if Mike Conley's not in the rotation.
Emmanuel
Jordan
Mudiay.
Clark-
Oh my God.
That's right. Jordan Clarkson's just in the starting lineup now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Westbrook out game 1, but day to day after that.
Okay, that was a great update, man. The producers over here. Oh, that is. Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's good to know. I mean, look, this is weird speculation. I mean, that could become a factor, but who knows? I think so. So Jamal Murray, it sucks that we only got 4 games of him because he played really well and really consistently, in my opinion, in all the 4 games or portions of the
great.
games that he appeared. And if we get that Jamal Murray, that's a whole other can of worms where it's just like, my God, then you're really
It's a
pouring
whole
it on.
other bag of straw.
A whole nother bag of straw.
Just so much has to go right for Utah, man. That's the hardest thing.
Well, let me ask you about this one, though, because Michael Porter Jr., I think, is somewhat of a wild card, although if you look at his numbers inside the bubble, it's not really. He's 27 points per 40 minutes. He's not going to play 40, although he might. 55, 42% splits, 93% from free throw line, 10 rebounds. Michael Porter's such a weird wild card to Denver, and it's nice that in this series, at least, it feels like a little bit of a value add, not necessarily a rely, But if Michael Porter, he's another one. Joe Ingles is a really crafty defender, this or that. But guys like Joe Ingles is really good against the guys that have to work hard for their points. Michael Porter just shoots over him.
Yeah.
Right.
Joe
Right.
Ingles is
Great
6'6",
point.
6'7".
And
DJ's
slow.
6'10",
And slow. Like
6'11".
he's really good at playing the angles and making life difficult and this or that. But if like
Cuts
Michael
to the rim,
if Michael Porter drains 2 or 3 threes on him in the first quarter, it's like, okay, what are you doing?
The other thing to factor in here is that, like we talked about, these games that we're about to see are going to look identical to the games that we have seen leading up to it, in that we're not going into a hostile environment. There's no crowds.
That's a great point.
There's not people where you start to feel more nervous as a player.
And winning in Utah for Denver is like,
so Michael Porter Jr., this being his first go round, like, that there would be, if he had to go into Utah, and you felt the eye of Sauron on you, which was it being playoffs.
Lord of the Rings, Adam.
The eye of Danny Tanner on you. You could as a human being, you could like sort of seize up, and we don't really have to worry about that. Like, he's going to be locked. He's going to be.
You're much more confident in guys that don't have a ton of playoff experience, not being.
Not the moment won't be too big for them, because it will be the same moment.
It's the same as what they've been playing.
I do think the key will be, how does he respond to if his shot isn't falling, right? Does he fade into the background, or does he just keep, I'm still taller than Joe Ingles, right? I can still cut to the rim. I can still crash the glass.
Yes.
And the Nuggets will need Michael Porter Jr. to be a big factor in this series for sure. I mean, Gary Harris and Will Barton, maybe they get back at some point during this series, but I'm not counting on them for anything
if they come?
meaningful.
I mean, if Will Barton is I can't imagine he's 100% healthy in 3 days, because if he was, that means he was probably 95% today and he would have played. So I'm guessing if he comes back, he's not 100%. Do you play? Does he even play at that point? There's no chance he starts.
Well, it probably gets determined based on how the series goes. Is it going in the wrong direction and you just need to try something different? Maybe you go to him then. But the Nuggets are a little thin on the wing without those guys. So they need Porter to be impactful, and they also need Porter, to get back to your earlier point, they need him to be able to stay on the floor defensively.
Yeah,
because he's got to play heavy minutes.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. I don't think either of those guys play. What happened? Would you get a good one?
I would say that it's another reference that you wouldn't understand. It says, one does not simply walk into the Tanner home. That's a...
Guy got it. I don't know if you guys
it's the one guy. Is it... Yeah, one does not simply walk into it.
John Cameron.
No, it's
Aragorn. Yeah, I'm the dork. All right,
but it would
the powerful elf who comes from the land of the Adam.
No, you're the worst. You're the dork who looks down at other dorks.
He's not a dwarf, you idiot. He's an elf.
We're professional basketball dorks, Adam.
It's different. Sorry, whatever.
A lot of overlap here with the listeners.
It would be. Okay, it would be impossible to count on Gary Harris and Will Barton for anything substantial based on what we know.
Yeah. Jeremy Grant's another one. Let me ask you guys this. Is this a Jeremy Grant series, Paul Millsap series, or both series?
I think... Oh, go ahead.
Grant.
I think Millsap starts these games, and I think Grant finishes them often.
I'd agree.
Yeah, we've been kind of talking about this after the really good game that Grant had the other day, that Denver's going to start to maybe start to reap the rewards and get the dividends of that offseason signing. He didn't play. He played okay today, Jeremy Grant. But,
I mean, come on.
Well, I know, but I just mean making shots and stuff.
Okay.
Well, listen.
Right.
I'm just saying, I
feel like we're on radio right now. If Jokic brings that type of game, he had 2 points. If he only has 2 points in the playoffs,
I'm just saying, man.
I just need an alpha.
I just. You know what? I'm not saying anything.
You're not saying anything. You're not saying anything. I think it's both. I think it's both guys in the series. In part, a little thin. We talk about playoff Jokic having another gear. Millsap today, you saw him looking like LeBron James. You saw him looking like a guy that had some confidence about him. I think that Paul Millsap also was like the bubble schmubble. Dude, I'm too old for this to describe.
I really do think he does look on the back nine of his career, but
for sure,
more than any player on the team, and maybe even first team all bubble, not going to give you my all. And really, I think a lot of his offensive contributions, hopefully in a healthy playoff offense, will be wide open threes
knocking down
on
threes.
The wing.
Yep.
And he's knocked those down all year. He knocked them down today, so I'm not worried yet. But I'm the Millsap defender, so I'm biased.
Yeah, We'll see. I mean, the nice thing is you do have Grant that can kind of replace him. Torrey Craig. People laughed when one of the title, something on a show I recently did was about if Torrey Craig's the most important player in the series. Now, when you say, well, no, because most important sounds like he's more important. I think it's more that Yoke's a given, Jamal's a given, those guys. But you need Torrey Craig to make things hard on Donovan
to
Mitchell.
make
If he's the primary matchup of Donovan Mitchell, he's an integral part of the series.
Then he's exactly, and that's the point. But then on the other end, you need him to both make life hard on Donovan Mitchell, and while you're at it, knock down 1 or 2 threes a game,
That'd
maybe
be
more
nice.
than that, and not just sort of fumble passes underneath the basket. So I actually do think he's an integral part.
I think he is too. I think he is too, especially because it looks like he's going to be
Integral.
the Nuggets starting shooting guard or small forward, however you want to slot him and MPJ. I mean, Torrey's going to be playing 30 minutes a night, most
Yeah,
likely.
it's
He's
true.
the most. Here's the best comment of the day. Adam was definitely a bully in high school.
I just
So-
want to say, you're using this in the past sense. He's definitely a bully right now. Grown-ass man.
I'm stuffing you in the locker like we're all having fun, Brendan. Like, we're all having fun.
Ha 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 ha! Idiot.
If you want to be one of the guys, you just have to take it. Man.
That really is your attitude. You don't believe in Nikola Jokic? Get over here.
Well, all right. Well, now I'm being bullied, so I hope you guys like it.
Wow.
Cancel culture.
X factors. We've kind of talked about everybody
Torrey,
here.
baby. It's
You think
Torrey.
Torrey's the X factor?
What's Torrey? It's Torrey and Jeremy, right? I mean,
Jeremy's a great one, man. I mean, I could see Jeremy coming to life and just being, this guy that they don't have an answer for. They don't have a lot of length.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the main thing about the Utah Jazz, just in general, is that they are backing into the play. Like they at the beginning of the season, they signed Mike Conley, they got Bojan, and it really looked like they were putting something special together. Bogdanovich gets hurt.
Yeah.
Conley is sort of like not really.
He's played well. He's played better in the bubble.
Yeah, but he's not exactly the piece that they needed, and
Right.
they just don't feel like they are at the peak of what they could
true.
or should be. Like
Yeah.
they feel less than they were last year.
For
That's
sure.
why the scariest part of the Jazz, this is what we were talking about earlier, the scariest part of them is how they've changed up how they play in the bubble. Like, because if they were this pre-bubble Jazz, yeah, they're the least, or like, they're the team that makes you the least terrified in the West. But just because there's a little bit of that unknown with how they've switched things up and the more threes and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's why they're a little scarier.
I think Torrey Craig is an X factor, but I actually think Michael Porter might
was
be a
gonna
bigger
agree, yeah.
bigger X factor because there is a world, and we might be living in this very world in which Michael Porter is the leading scorer in this series. And if
Oh,
he's-
man.
I mean, look.
Hold me.
4 games ago, we were talking about, like, is
I'm
this
with
the
it.
dude 37, 30,
I'm with it.
27
I'm with it.
back-to-back games? Now, his efficiency has kind of stayed high, even though the numbers have been lower, but it's also been a little wonky, right? Not playing the same minutes and all this or that. There is a world in which Michael Porter comes out, shoots 55, 60% on the series, and is a
then it
23, 24 point per game, and they're just like, well, yeah, like,
None of this shit matters.
none of this other stuff, man. Like, oh, Jokic struggled tonight, but it doesn't matter because Michael Porter has 35.
Oh yeah. We got a highlight from today's game that might
Torrey
give us
Craig
an insight
highlight?
into how the series might play out. Right.
guys,
Production team on point.
Let's see if we can figure this
Let's
out. We're
see
gonna
here.
rate the highlight without our
Okay,
numbers.
let's rate the
Does
highlight.
everyone
So
have that?
okay. Oh, swings it to the open man.
Is this a
and-
handheld video?
Unbelievable.
If the Nuggets lose this first round series, that's going to be the definitive highlight of the season.
It's rough.
Tropic Thunder reference. He went full Torrey Craig. There.
You never go for
Never
full
go full Torrey Craig.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do some quick lightning round stuff. Jokic's
All right.
stat line in the bubble. Eric, you go first, so you set the bar way higher than anyone else.
So
be honest though.
I think that Jokic will be. I think he'll be a 30-point scorer. I do.
30 points.
I think.
Well,
I
he
see
averages
it.
20, so that's a lot more.
I see it. I mean, I really do think that Jokic has a switch. Will flip said switch. Will start to score. Realizes that he just has a well of energy, a reserve of energy that he's been cultivating all season. I really think we're going to see. I mean, do you remember how he looked last year in the playoffs? Like he was just locked in.
I'll
Like,
never forget.
right. I think we're going to get that.
This is the year that if he does it again, we say, do you remember what Jokic looks like in the playoffs? Not in last year's playoffs.
Right.
Just, do you remember what playoff Jokic is?
Yeah.
He's a top 4 player on the planet.
And he's not 4.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think he'll
Might be
average right near a triple double, if not a triple double.
Wow.
What did Jokic average in the playoffs?
25,
last year? Points?
12, and 8.
25 a game, right? I think he is going to average slightly less than that in the first round. I will say
Yeah.
he averages 24, 10, and 8.5. He doesn't have to carry the scoring load like he did in last year's playoffs. That's a big thing. So I think
That's
his
true.
scoring
That's a
average is going to
great
be
point.
slightly down. And rebounding, I think his rebounding numbers have been down because he's been sharing the floor with Michael Porter Jr. so
Absolutely.
much.
Michael
and
Porter
MPJ
Jr.
grabbed so many rebounds.
He's such a good rebounder.
So I think he'll be dominant, but 24, 10, and 8.5.
down to 20 in points per game, 9 in rebounds, 10 or 11 in assists.
I love that. I love that take. I think I'm closest to you over here. I think he's going to have some big scoring games. I think he might have a 30-point game or two where it's just kind of like, oh, man, his three-point shot was going down, and he really did it. But I think overall he'll probably average around 22, 23 points because I do think there's going to be games where, game one he had 35 points. All right, Utah strategy, change it up. Boom, totally. Now he's just picking them apart, and he has 12 points this game, but he dominates anyway. I think it's going to be 22, 23 points per game. I think it's going to be around 10 rebounds a game, and I think it's going to be 11, 12 assists. I would not be surprised if he got a triple-double average here. I think the rebounds will be close, the assists will be close. But look, I put this out, and I'm going to keep saying it. He has 2 games with 13 assists, both games in which he did not play in the fourth quarter inside this bubble. You give him Jamal Murray, you give him Jeremy Grant, you give him Michael Porter Jr., and
people that knock down the shots.
He
right?
can't, exactly.
Cheap assists.
I think if Jokic had
not
his
even
way,
cheap, though, because he's making them.
It's
like,
true.
you think about this, the Jeremy Grant one where he throws a little wraparound pass and it, like, curves around the defense. That's not a cheap assist. It's just easy for Jokic.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if Jokic has his way over the course of his career, the points and the assists work their way to 15.
You want to know what's funny, though?
And it's just like...
The only reason I disagree with you is that the perfect Jokic offense, that tension is so perfect that you take away one, the other goes up. And teams are just going to constantly be like, it's like whack-a-mole. You hit the one and the other one comes up, and it's just, you can't ever...
I mean, it's just at a certain point, 3 assists a game are just going to be Michael just ran to the rim, and he's like, here's the ball.
Yeah, you know? for sure. Jamal Murray's stat line. I'll go this way this time.
That's tough. 22.
If we go through the bubble and we extrapolate for 40 minutes, because I think that's about what your starters play, he was at 23.5.
22, 5 and 5?
Oh, man.
22, 5
You're low.
5.
You're low.
I will go 23.5 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists.
I see him scoring 25 points per game. That's part of the ascension.
Wow.
5 and 5.
So I'm a little different than you guys. I think it's going to be about 23 points per game, similar to Jokic. I think it's going to be 6 rebounds, 7 assists. I actually think his assists and rebounds are going to be up high. If you look at the bubble against only 4 games per 40 minutes,
he's been rebounding.
8 rebounds, 7 assists over this game. I mean, his assists have been really great. The 2-minute game with him and Jokic, when you give him space, turns out it's pretty easy. Michael Porter Jr., this will be our last one. I guess Harrison, you go.
I'll go. I will go.
In the comments, I want to hear it too. Give us. I want to hear these Michael Porter Jr. predictions and Jamal Murray if you haven't sent them in.
17 points.
Nice.
9 rebounds. 2 assists per game.
I guess with him, the assist isn't as important. Maybe just the shooting percentage.
Yeah, I think we're going to get about 15 points per game. I think we're going to have
39% from 3.
Super high. We're going to have a game where he scores another 27, 30 points, and then we're going to have the variability of just, the what's been the MPJ experience. But overall, it's going to be impactful. And then his he'll get around 9 rebounds a game. His assists, negligible.
Okay. Efficient though?
I think as you average it out, like probably very efficient on some games and not very efficient on others.
Yeah, I think he's going to also be up and down, but I think it's going to average out to 18 points per game. I think he's good. I think 18 points per game. I think he's going to have a really nice percentage, especially from 3. And I wouldn't be surprised if he started a little slow and picked it up as the series goes on. In part because if we're right about our first 2 predictions, Jamal Murray and Jokic doing really well. You bend everything, and then the other guys open up. So I think he might have 1 or 2 games in the series where he looks like the best scorer on the court, and if that happens, his average will get up to 18.
I agree.
I had 18 and 9.
18 and 9.
And I think Harrison nailed it. Probably just under 40%. I think he goes like 5 for 7, like 2 different games, and then there's a couple of nights where it's just not falling. But 18 and 9, and to be clear, I think if you're getting that from Jokic, Murray, and MPJ,
it's a perfect third option.
Yeah, I mean you're winning.
We'll do predictions on the DNVR.com. I guess we could save that just so people have something to look forward to. We're going to have more preview stuff over the weekend. I'm going to do a deep dive, basically like a giant edition of the list where I look at things from the film and try to kind of highlight some different things. And then guess what, guys? I'm going to talk to George Karl. You ever heard of him?
George
Karl.
Was
Denver
he the
Nuggets
old
legend
wooden
coach?
ship used in the Civil War era?
George Karl, you're the worst. George Karl's going to hop on the Keeping It
guess,
1000 pod. I hope you're subscribed to that, guys, on iTunes, Stitcher,
I am.
Spotify, wherever, Google
Subscribe,
Play.
rate, and review.
Subscribe,
as they
rate, and
say.
review. We need more ratings and reviews on there for sure. But George Karl and I are going to sit down. We're going to look at some film, and we're going to talk about this series from a coach's perspective. What he
love
sees.
it.
He said if he's Denver, he wants Utah. He said that's the matchup they clearly want. So I'm very excited to hear why he thinks that, if he still thinks that.
I agree.
And then to kind of follow along with him as the series goes on. It's great because I'm going to do this show with him, and then we're going to do 2 more during the playoff round. So basically every 2 games we're going to have another sort of sit down with him and talk about how the series is going. I can't wait for that. Keep your eye out for it. Lastly, guys, or 2 more things. 1, leave a rating or review. I see a lot of people have put a thumbs up on YouTube. We thank you so much.
Thumbs up
Subscribe
to
so you
you.
don't miss
Thumbs up to
the list.
you.
You don't miss all the other things we're doing. We'll have a little bit of fun before we get out of here because producer
nice.
guy, do you have a camera? Is there a way for you? Do you need to come
For the
out
record,
here to be
that's
on
his name.
front?
Adam's not calling him the producer guy. He just is. He's
Yeah, producer guy. Yeah, his
I was
name
telling
is
you guys
Guy.
about the
I
shirt.
want you
There
to
it
see
is.
the jersey. Do you see it? Do we have it? I don't see it on the screen. The monitor. Oh, here it
Oh,
is. Look at
yeah.
this. So he is the proud owner of a Rainbow Skyline Gary Harris jersey, which, we still love Gary
No
Harris.
undershirt, too, by the way.
Yeah, no undershirt. Look at the guns. I mean, absolutely.
Look at he was attacked by an
Oh,
octopus.
my
Attacked
That
goodness.
by an
lettuce diet,
octopus.
Eric. He's on that fresh
How
lettuce.
us ugly
Unfortunately
assholes
for
up
Guy,
here, the
our
handsome
demographic
man.
is 99% male. On this.
lady.
Yeah,
He's
I
single.
We actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but DNVR crushes the female demographic. Like
Sure.
the top 1 percentile for what
Those are
It's
not
all
accurate
relative. It's all relative.
demographics for the record.
Is that right? But Guy got the Gary Harris jersey, and we were talking. There's a chance Gary Harris has played. He's appeared in his last Denver Nuggets jersey. I don't want to get too much of a downer here, but
man.
we don't
Well,
know if he's going
you
to
did.
play. But one thing I got us to thinking, we were having a fun topic of a fun conversation. What is the best Denver Nuggets jersey? If you have if you're jumping on board and you're buying a Denver Nuggets jersey, what is the one that you say this is the one you have to get, factoring everything in?
I misunderstood.
Oh my God, jersey! What the hell is this?
I
What the heck
misunderstood.
is this thing?
I misunderstood.
Yeah,
I
it's a
thought
jersey
we were
size.
having jersey
Wow,
Good
look at this thing. Is Vote on there? You didn't
what
put
do you mean
Brendan Vote?
Are you kidding?
Oh, his head, his cartoon head. I see. Okay, yeah.
He's
the
literally-
centerpiece.
Wait, was that not a joke? I'm there.
I was looking for a card.
I'm
cut out.
sorry. I misunderstood.
All
I thought we were
right,
having
yeah.
I
not
did
that Jersey
my
talk.
senior week in Seaside, New Jersey, the same week that crew came back from Jersey Shore in Italy. So I met them. And
Oh, yikes.
Pauly D's hair, if you knock on it, it's like hollow.
That's
you
so
can hear
crazy.
like a ringing. And Snooki is even shorter than you think.
All right. Well, thanks for that detail. This is. I'm outdated in pop culture.
Necessary
I'm
details.
outdated. Okay, so jerseys. Eric, you're a Jersey guy.
I'm a Jersey guy.
You're a brand
Brandon's a
new.
Jersey
You're a
guy.
brand new diehard.
Yeah.
You really want to get the best jersey to own.
Yeah.
A lot of factors going forward.
The best jersey to own of the Denver Nuggets is the blue Mile High City jersey that is Nikola Jokic.
Okay, it's both safe and
This is going
versatile.
it's because it's the best looking jersey. I mean, everybody loves the rainbow. You can get the black rainbow. Black rainbow is an alternate choice here. I just personally really love that blue. I mean, but
It feels like Jokic too.
That to me will be the jersey that represents Jokic far after
Totally.
in this era.
Yeah.
That is the Jokic era jersey.
Yeah. If you get the rainbow skyline throwback, that's an Alex English
Yeah, yeah.
jersey, right? Yeah. If
Yes.
you get the
Yes.
the maroon '90s one, that's
Yeah,
the Mutombo jersey. I mean,
you
The,
can black
the,
skyline.
the
Lafonso
powder
Wallace.
blue, a
Black-
mellow jersey.
or
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly. Black skyline. The black skyline is an MPJ jersey.
Okay.
Because it's a little flashy.
I like that. I like
Ooh,
that.
I do like that too.
I like
All right, so
that.
number one. What about you? What jersey is number one?
Michael Porter Jr. Black Skyline.
It's a good one, yeah.
Because when everyone has the Lakers jersey, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you're the
I'm just
worst.
kidding.
You're the absolute worst.
I am just
Oh my
kidding.
God.
No.
Jersey talk is over.
Big market vote.
That was a joke.
Chiming in.
That was a joke. I have a serious answer. I think
Stars
to
hang
me,
with stars.
if you were wearing
Winners hang with
Winners
winners.
hang with winners.
if you were wearing this jersey to me, I'd be like, man, you're a real one.
Okay, what is it?
Juancho Hernan Gomez, white rainbow skyline.
That might be the Wancho jersey. Actually.
That's too small market now. I've gone from big market.
It's not even
to-
here.
yeah.
I stand by it.
If
No,
he
I
was
stand
still
by it.
here, if Denver just was like, F it, we're just keeping him like in the Vlatko role, like I would 100% have a Wancho end of bench
For
jersey.
sure.
Nuggets fans should just operate under that reality.
You know, they were available the whole time he was here. You could have had one.
I knew that we had to see if he got that second contract. I had to see.
I like what you were saying about the black Skyline MPJ jersey. That is totally his jersey,
that's
man.
the combo.
The New Age Nuggets.
Do you know
the
why? Because he
combo,
got
Jay.
the start against Sacramento. It was his first start. So there's like
Yeah.
a little
I wasn't
history, a
even
little
thinking
nugget
about
there.
that, but yeah, it all makes sense.
I think the Jokic blue, I think that one really fits. I think the Porter black, that one really fits. I
Yeah.
think the Jamal Murray one, that's
White?
even-
The whites?
no, because I don't really like the white or the navy. I just something about
Yeah,
them.
they're boring.
They're a little boring.
like
I
the
would get a
whites.
Murray of the either white skyline or of the blue city. But you get after that, we got to see how this offseason goes.
Right.
The Bol Bol Denver Nuggets jersey and the Jeremy Grant Denver Nuggets jersey might soon become the
The Bol
you know,
jer- do
the
the Bol
version of the
jersey.
Gary Harris. Like when Gary Harrison, I'm sure when you bought this, it was like, okay, that's the one for the that's the one that you're the one. You got their early LP record. That's what that would be if you get the Bol Bol one.
I feel like Nuggets jersey sales are going to be 1 MPJ, 2 Bowl.
Yeah,
for sure.
no,
You know?
100%.
Like,
3 Jamal Murray,
4 Jokic.
Four
4 Jeremy
Jokic.
Grant,
Yeah.
5 Latko Chanchar, 6
But the
Jokic.
Bol Bol jersey is it's a nice jersey to have.
Yeah, that
Number
Bol
10.
jersey is going to be DAF. Dope AF.
I feel like the Bol jersey though is whatever the next one is.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like they're gonna
I
have a
agree.
new jersey
It's-
next
you
year.
know what
and
it's going to
that's the
be
Bol.
next
The
year? It's
next
going to be
skyline.
the royal blue skyline next year.
and Bol rocking it
mark
is gonna
down.
be-
That's
it's-
exactly what's going to
It'll
happen.
look
Royal
good,
blue?
Matt.
Yep.
So it can almost have a little bit of like if it was navy blue, which I know it won't be like that darker blue. It could be like a Mutombo, the new
Yes,
Mutombo.
yes.
So they're going to
That
have
would be the
3
Bol jersey. If
Three
they did a-
blue jerseys?
Yeah, they will.
I don't know how I feel about that.
That's
Ooh, what if
that's-
it's the midnight? What is it? The dark blue
The
of that.
navy?
That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it would be shades of the black one.
Yeah.
We'll see. But we're going to get a blue rainbow. You can mark that down, take it to the bank, baby.
Alrighty, guys, that was
Take it
just
to
a fun
DraftKings.
little
Can we
thing
get
to
a
wrap it
DraftKings
up.
prop on that?
Next time we're going to be sitting right here. It'll either be a winner's lounge or a loser's lounge, and I
Cool.
promise you, either way, it is going to be intense.
A lounge.
Can't wait.
It'll be a
It's gonna
lounge.
It's going to
one
be a
way or
lounge one way or the other. It's going to be intense. I can't wait.
Ugh.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep before then. I can't wait for it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We can't wait to be with you guys again here in a couple days. Have a good one.